Introduction to Mindfulness. This CD aims to teach you some simple mindfulness techniques. Research has shown that these techniques can be very useful in helping us deal with a broad range of emotional and psychological difficulties. Mindfulness is related to another widely used psychological technique called cognitive behavioural therapy, or CBT. The basic idea behind CBT is that our thoughts, our attitudes, they determine how we feel and often how we behave. Now that might seem pretty obvious, but it's surprising how many of us don't make this connection in our everyday lives, especially when we're angry or sad or worried about something. If we become more aware of the way we're thinking and our underlying beliefs about ourselves and about the world, we can start to make choices about these thoughts and attitudes, especially if we find they're causing us unhappiness. Often these attitudes have been set in early childhood, often through our family lives, and we haven't actually become aware of them enough to question whether they're really good for us or not, whether they're really the truth or not. So mindfulness can gradually make us more aware of these underlying, often very deep thoughts and beliefs about ourselves and the world. So what is mindfulness? Well, mindfulness is basically about being very aware of ourselves and our experience, very open, curious about ourselves and our lives. Mindfulness techniques teach us to focus our attention and remain aware of whatever's going on. Some of the techniques focus on external things like sounds or objects. Others focus on our thoughts or the sensations in our body. Mindfulness techniques really involve just staying in the present and observing what's happening, rather than letting our minds wander off into worrying about the past or the future. By observing what's going on, quietening ourselves down, we can develop a greater understanding and acceptance of our thoughts and feelings. We don't even need to try and immediately change them. Just becoming more aware is often very helpful. Mindfulness is commonly thought of as based on meditation techniques drawn from Eastern traditions such as Buddhism or yoga. But these ideas like self-awareness, emotional intelligence, openness to experience are actually common to many psychological, philosophical, even religious schools of thought. These ideas are not new, but Western psychology in particular is now adapting them for use as part of the many techniques we can use to improve our quality of life. Mindfulness can be taught in a variety of different ways. These include exercises like sitting and observing the breath or scanning the body, observing our thoughts, but it also includes movement-based practices like yoga or tai chi or simple walking meditation. It's important that you find the techniques that suit you best. There is no absolute best or correct one, just the one or ones that you find most helpful. The recent psychological research has found mindfulness training to be useful in treating stress, anxiety, depression, eating disorders, and also to assist people to cope with a variety of medical illnesses. How can mindfulness help with such a wide range of issues? Well, perhaps that will become clear if I talk about some of the benefits that have been observed in people who've learned mindfulness techniques. If we are trained in mindfulness, one of the things that happens is we can start to tell the difference between something we might call our core self and mental events, transitory, temporary mental events like thoughts and emotions. In other words, we can kind of step back and observe our own mental processes. And what this means is that we can start to consider and choose our reactions to stressful things, rather than having a kind of knee-jerk reaction like fear or anger, which isn't necessarily helpful to us. We can sort of introduce a gap, if you like, between when something difficult happens to us and when we react to it. We can have some choice. The more aware we are, the more we can pay attention to all the available information, all the things that we know, rather than relying on pre-existing ideas and attitudes. They might be very unhelpful ones that we've carried around for 20 years without really being aware of them or how they affect us. Mindfulness has also been shown to increase people's ability to sort of watch and monitor their emotions, so they're less likely to get really upset. That means that we can face and evaluate problems more calmly, with greater emotional equilibrium.